Guys, the early rounds of fantasy drafts are fun and sexy. We absolutely love it. They're superstars galore. But let's be honest here, it's the mid rounds of drafts where championships are won or lost. Pick the right guys in rounds 5 to 9, we are cruising into the playoffs. Fall into a trap, we're scrambling the rest of the way. Today, we're breaking down the ultimate mid round targets for the 26-27 fantasy season. Let's get into it. G'day guys, I'm DMAC from NBA Fantasy Bible, back with another episode. So welcome aboard. With me is a good friend of the show, legend of fantasy basketball, Adam King. Kingy, how you going, mate?
Very good, mate. Full of food. Getting close to my bedtime here, so hopefully my takes are sane enough, and not my sleepy brain. I was up at 5:30 to go to work this morning, so. It's been a long day, but happy to talk fantasy basketball.
Absolute pleasure having you on. It's 9:30 where you are, so hopefully you can hold up until then. But yeah, I've got you at a good time, full of Thai food as well. But just carrying on. So I did an episode the other night with Steve St. Pierre. We went through the top 50 based on ADP. We're going to do something similar, but we're going to get into the mid rounders. And I said at the top of the show that you can get a lot of value in some of these mid rounders, but you can also be trapped. You can fall into these traps and it can ruin your season or make it very difficult to recover from as well. So let's just get into a few names, and I've highlighted some, and I'll go through it with Kingy as well, and some intriguing names, not necessarily guys that I'm necessarily targeting, but also some potential traps as well. But shall we get straight into it, Kingy?
Yeah, let's go. Mid-round there's always a lot to talk about in the middle rounds. So looking forward
always to it. A lot to talk about. Now, I finished off the top 50 with Steve. We spoke about Donovan Clingan, Darius Garland to a certain degree, but let's take it from 51. Kyrie Irving at 51, 52 is LeBron James, 53, and I will call out the numbers and the ranks as well because of people listening on audio, but OG Anunoby at 53. This is ranked based on current ADP data in FANTRAX as well. So keep that in mind for you points leagues players out there. This is really dedicated towards those 9-cat guys, but we will get some ESPN ADP data very shortly. So OG at 53, Pascal Siakam 54, Keontae George 55, DeJounte Murray at 56, Franz Wagner at 57, my mate Joel Embiid at 58, Dyson Daniels, good old Aussie at 59, and top 60s rounded out by Stefan Castle. I've highlighted just a few names here, and these are guys that I think are high risk but also high reward with Kyrie, LeBron, DeJounte, and Joel Embiid. Anything that stands out for you, Kingy?
No, look, not really. Kyrie, we don't really know what to expect. He obviously didn't play at all last season, but I feel like if you can get him in the 5th round, that's relatively safe. The year before he went down, he was still putting up top 20 numbers. So I think he's okay there. LeBron, personally, he's not someone that I typically go after, but I think at 52, that's not too bad. He's going to play a pretty big role, even though he is whatever he is, 80 years old or something now.
He's almost 42. I know this because he's my 42. Age, which is sad.
Yeah, that's really close to my age too. So that's scary. So yeah, look, he's not personally someone I go after, but in this range, I think that's totally fine. Keontae George, interesting to see what people do with him. Obviously, this ADP data is very early, and he's really only coming from those diehards that are doing early season mock drafts and things like that. So this will change a little bit. Like us, that's right. DeJounte Murray's an interesting one for me. I tweeted something out earlier today about guys with first round upside, and I had a look at DeJounte's numbers. I don't think he's going to be a first rounder or anything, but in the right situation, I do think he could push inside the 3rd round, just with the way that the Pelicans have built their roster. And he looked really good at the back end of last season. So I actually like DeJounte in this range. He obviously comes with some risk as well, coming off a significant injury, as does this next guy, Joel Embiid, who for me isn't someone, again, that I target. But this season, I don't know. It's going to be a weird season for the 76ers because they obviously have visions of winning the whole thing, hence the acquisitions of LeBron and Jaylen Brown. But what does that do for Joel Embiid? I think it kind of helps him and it kind of doesn't, because I just don't think they'll be as invested's not the right word, but the requirement to play him won't be there, because they have so much depth now and so much talent that they can almost manage him to more of an extent than they have in the last couple of years. So I think it helps Embiid in terms of he'll just be around all season, but the absences are going to be there. I don't think he plays more than about 55 games. So if you can handle a guy that is going to play, I don't know what, 2/3 of the season, then I think Embiid is okay here. But he's definitely not the player he was. So you do have to understand he's not a first rounder or a second rounder anymore.
You look at the numbers on the screen there. The 9-cat, and of course it was in limited games last season. 9-cat 14th, 9-cat -1 for those that are interested. He's pretty level. So 15, and in points league as well, 13. But of course it comes with the risk, as you alluded to, of the missed games. Now with probably reduced usage as well, just with some of the guys that now are on the 76ers team as well. So I think you're right. I think they do look to probably preserve him towards playoffs, and they are in it to win it as well. They're in the championship window right now. So, hey, the upside is there, but expect to have those missed games. So I can see it around this point. I'm probably still hesitating, but it is a bit of a trap. It may come down to where you've drafted or who you've drafted in the earlier rounds as well. So that does play a factor into where you may want to pick up these guys.
Yeah, I think it does. And Embiid, if you've drafted relatively safe, you can probably take a bit of a flyer. And obviously in roto leagues, he's a little bit safer. But if you do look at his numbers from last season, his best category was points. So he was still required to score. I mean, he was at 26.9 points, which it's not astronomical, but it's still quite a significant tally in terms of points. He's just not going to have to do that this season because they have Jaylen Brown, they have LeBron James. So he may only need to score 20, 21 points. And if you kind of shave 4 to 5 points off his points total, I don't see his rebounds going up. I don't really see his defensive numbers coming back. That to me, just kind of, you're looking at a guy that was a second rounder, then he probably goes to be a third or a fourth rounder per game. And as a player that's only going to play 50 games, totals wise, that probably brings him back kind of into being a top 70 player. So you're going to hedge your bets a little bit, but certainly excited to watch what he and the Sixers do this season.
Absolutely. Let me pose you this question, Kingy, and I put this out on my Twitter in a poll today. If these guys were available and you're on the clock, you're in the 5th round, which one of these 4 that we just spoke about would you be picking?
Not Embiid, not LeBron, just because I think they'll kind of cannibalize each other a little bit. I think it's probably DeJounte. I just think Kyrie's coming off an injury. We don't really know where the Mavericks are going to be come February. Mm-hmm. I think the Pelicans, for whatever reason, have this vision that they're a competitive team in the Western Conference. We don't agree, but they do. Right. And DeJounte looks really good, as I said, late. I just think he has probably the upside to kind of be safe enough here. I think Kyrie Irving is probably still the best per minute, per game kind of guy, but I think DeJounte, if he's healthy, will look to kind of rejuvenate his career a little bit here.
Yeah, absolutely. But some big names on that list as well. Now, let's get into the next round, headlined by Kelly Ware. I think you might be a bit of a fan of his coming into this season.
Yeah, so that tweet that I mentioned about players for me that are outside the top 40 that have first round upside. Now, obviously, first round upside is everything needs to go their way. So minutes, role, production. Kelly was one of those players. I think he has the game to be a top 15 player. He's in a situation that the biggest question is, what is his role in Milwaukee? So Is he starting? Is he playing ahead of Miles Turner? Is he alongside Miles Turner? I think we can all agree that he will play more than he did last season. He was at around 22 to 23 minutes. Yep. He was a top 60 player. So, I mean, basically you're taking him here at what he did last season. I think he has to play at least 28 minutes this season, and if not 30, 31, 32. Really depends what the Bucks want to do with him. But if he's playing 32 minutes, I don't see any reason he can't finish as a top 30 player. He can score. He hits threes, but he's relatively efficient. He can get blocks. Not terrible from the free throw line. I'm not saying he's a good NBA player, but to me, he's in a situation with the Bucks this season where they actually don't care too much. So, yeah, I really like Kel'el Ware. I think if you can get him anywhere after pick 60, you have to take him.
I'm with you. You mentioned it. He was top 60 on 22, just under 23 minutes per game last season. I think, and we saw it with Miles Turner, much maligned last season. Miles Turner probably has a bit of a bounce back this season, but let's lean into Kel'el Ware. Let's see what he's made of. And his fantasy game, or his game is really suited to fantasy. Points league, it's interesting, 117. So very much a category league darling. So keep that in mind if you are a points league player. So he's at 61. And again, I'll go through some of the names. Tyler Hero at 62. Cam Boozer, first rookie off the board, not surprisingly at 63. And we'll come back to him very shortly. Michael Porter Jr., 64. Matas Buzelis is another guy that I'm very interested in this coming season at 65. 66, Saar. 67, Julius Randle in a new environment. 68, Ryan Rollins. So a bit of a backcourt jam that Ryan Rollins has to navigate as well. Mikal Bridges, very boring but safe at 69. Zubac, new team. Let's see how he gels with Halliburton. We did speak about him on your show, and I'm pretty sure I spoke about him very briefly on Steve's show as well. So he's at 70, Rudy Gobert 71, and De'Aaron Fox 72. Any other names that you want to discuss right now? I did mention Cam Boozer. Would you be comfortable taking the rookie at 63?
Again, I think it would come down to who I drafted earlier. This is probably the range that he's going to go in. I think probably in this 6th round. I don't think I'll end up with him on a lot of teams this season. I think other managers will reach for him a little bit too high for me. Yep. If it came down, so I mean, for example, here very close, obviously Cam Boozer and Matas Buzelis, who you've got highlighted there. I would much prefer Matas Buzelis just because I think we've seen what he can do down the stretch last season. I feel like the Bulls are going to lean into him a little bit more. They do also have Caleb Wilson, who is probably in the running to be first rookie off the board, along with Cam Boozer. That said, I think Boozer will be the first rookie off the board. So I think Buzelis in this range is interesting. The rest of the names, look, there's a lot of safe options there. Randall, Bridges, I think Zubac, Gobert, Fox, they're all relatively safe. Rollins, as you kind of alluded to there, is an interesting one because we actually don't know what his role is in Milwaukee either. The whole rotation in Milwaukee is kind of up in the air at the moment. So I love Rollins. I was really high on him last season, and that obviously paid off, and injuries helped. I've got him in a lot of dynasty leagues, so I hope he starts and I hope he plays 32 minutes. But they still have Kevin Porter Jr. Tyler Hero is there now as well. So, I think Rollins for me, I really don't know if this is too high or too low. If he starts, I think this is fine. If he's coming off the bench, then it's probably a little bit too high. But they also don't have Doc Rivers there anymore. So hopefully some common sense prevails.
Yes, common sense is not that common. We do hope for Ryan Rollins to be a starter, but again, preseason games and leading into the season, hopefully we get a better glimpse into how they're going to line up. But yeah, some really intriguing names on that list as well. Next round, starting off, Naz Reid at 73, Zach Edey. We spoke about Cam Boozer in the previous round, but Zach Edey at 74, I've just highlighted. We'll come back to him very shortly. 75, Brandon Ingram. 76 is Peyton Pritchard. 77 is Paul George, his new teammate. 78 is Jaden McDaniels. Ja Moran at 79. I will discuss him very shortly. Emmanuel Quickly, safe at 80. VJ Edgecombe at 81. Asar Thompson, one of your guys. I know you love Asar at 82. Zion Williamson, probably not either of our guys at 83. And Jarrett Allen rounds out this round at 84. I've highlighted Zach Edey. I think you're a fan. I was a mega fan last season. Didn't play many games. I think he only played 11 games before he had his season derailed. But look at those 9-cat rankings. Points league, not as effective, but 9-cat and 9-cat -1, 30th ranked per game. He's coming at 74. There's an element of risk, of course, with the injury. But in college, he was an Iron Man. So are we saying that last season was a bit of a blip on the radar, or are we saying that it is a bit of a risk coming into this season?
Yeah, I think that's really the one question with Zach Edey is how many games does he play? Is he fully healthy? Because he was another player that I included in that tweet that I sent out earlier around players with first round upside or top. I think I said first round. I can't remember exact wording, but it was Zach Edey, Khalil Ware, and then Walker Kessler was the third. And I think Zach Edey, a very small sample size, but as you can see there, he was a top 30 player last year in roughly 25 minutes a game. I don't know if he pushes to 31, 32, just given the fact that the Grizzlies probably aren't going to win too much this season. So I think they probably try to keep him at around that 27, 28, maybe 29 minutes. But just his game, again, is really fantasy friendly. No reason to think he couldn't be kind of a 15 and 12 player with 2 blocks. He doesn't hurt you from the free throw line. I think along with most other centers, he's trying to add an element of a 3-point shot to his game, which obviously can impact the efficiency, but shouldn't impact it too much. So, yeah, I think Edey anywhere outside the top 60 is probably worth the risk.
Yep.
Other players I like there, Paul George, I think he could be a sneaky one this season. I thought he looked really good last year, and I know he missed a lot of games, but 25 of those were due to suspension, and then majority of the others were due to an injury from the previous year. So when healthy last year, I thought he looked good, and I think he'll come into Boston with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. So if he can stay healthy, I think Paul George at 77 is really nice value. Emmanuel Quickly, someone that's often slept on. I thought he was pretty good last season. Where did he finish? I've got the ranks up here.
Yeah, and just to note, I didn't mention this as well, but these rankings are per hashtag basketball. I know you tend to use Basketball Monster, very similar, but Quickly 61 in standard 9 cap per hashtag.
Yeah, so I mean, he's similar position on Basketball Monster as well. So, and there's no reason really to think that much changes. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard could be there, but I mean, we don't know what's happening.
Remains to be seen. We're not sure.
Yeah, not sure. So I think Quickly in this range really safe. Edgecombe, I have my questions. He was kind of a top 70-ish player last season with the addition of Jaylen Brown and LeBron James and I mean, Embiid kind of being there from day one. I just don't think Edgecombe, I mean, I love Edgecombe. I think he has a lot of upside, but I just don't think his time is now. And then Asar Thompson, as you say, I love Asar Thompson, and that's usually because he fits my build. So I think this range is fine. And I tweeted again something today around the value shifts and the way that numbers move around when you punt certain categories. And Asar Thompson, a really good example of that, but obviously has some pretty big flaws as well. His inability to shoot at all, really, is a big downside.
And it's looked like him and his brother have both bulked up. I don't know if you saw the pictures of him. I think it was after a boxing training session, but they look nasty. They look massive. And I don't know if that's going to help their game, but the athleticism is going to be through the roof. So, yeah, again, some very interesting names there. Ja Morant, I just wanted to come back to. You look at the points league ranking of 52, and sometimes we forget because we are category league guys. We typically, and I typically don't ever draft Ja Morant. But for those that do play points leagues, we think of last season as an absolute nightmare for him. It was a disaster, and it really was. But that points league ranking is still pretty good for someone that we think had a disaster of a season. So just keep that in mind for when ESPN numbers do come out as well. But Ja Morant, are you touching him anywhere around here, just with the plethora of talent that the Trailblazers now have?
So what are we in this? We're in the 7th round now, aren't we? I'd consider it. I know he hasn't always had the best game or translation of a game for category leagues, but I don't know. You have to think that he's coming into this season with some extra motivation to prove a lot of people wrong. He's in Portland now. He's with Damian Lillard, which I think has to be a good thing. Just sharing the court, sharing a locker room with someone like him. Drew Holiday, there's rumors that he may or may not hang around. Either way, I think Ja Morant is going to start. So I'd consider it here, despite the fact that he doesn't translate too well. I think once you're into the 7th, 8th round, it's probably worth a shot.
Yep.
So yeah,
I,
I don't mind this range.
Yeah, I would be looking to grab him here. You look at the
Mm,
9 cap -1, 79th in a disastrous season is actually pretty good, and he gets
mm,
docked because of the turnovers. He's not a punt free throw guy anymore. Just keep
yeah.
that in mind, guys. But yeah, 79th in 9 cap -1, 116th, it's because of the turnovers. But yeah, keep that in mind. The turnovers probably come down because of the likes of Dame. You've got Drew, you've got Scoot, you've got Denny as well. So a lot of ball handlers, a lot of facilitators. He's still going to be having the ball in his hand a lot. But I don't mind him in this area, and I think he might lock in this season. So something that I may be monitoring throughout the preseason as well. But let's get into the next round. Speaking of Dame Lillard, he highlights this next round, and I'll just go through the numbers and the names again. But Kobe White at 86, just after Dame at 85. Miles Turner, the aforementioned Miles Turner, 87, looking for a bounce back. Jabari Smith Jr., very safe at 88. Dylan Harper, 89, and we'll come back to him as well because I've highlighted him because he's a bit of a hype guy in this preseason or coming off of a really solid playoffs as well. Jalen Suggs at 90, Norm Powell at 91, Ty Jerome, 92, Derek Queen, yes, Queen at 93, Josh Hart, 94, Nick Claxton, 95, and Isaiah Hartenstein rounds out this round at 96. I've highlighted Dame. I like Dame at this point. I love Dame at this point. We know of the upside. What do you think of Dame?
Yeah, love him too in this range. Obviously coming off a missed season, but prior to that, he was putting up first round numbers in Milwaukee. He's a bit older now. They're not going to need him to do as much as he used to when he was in Portland. But at 85, I think he has kind of clear top. I don't know. I mean, how safe do we want to be? I think probably top 40 at a minimum.
Yeah.
So worst case scenario is probably top 60, but there's still 2 rounds of value, and there's no reason that he couldn't be a top 30 player. So I love Lillard in this range.
Yeah, and people are going to shout, he's going to miss games, he's going to miss games. It's not often that guys all throughout this list aren't going to miss games. So, yeah, of course, he's coming off of a long-term injury, and he will be pretty cautious around that as well. He's an older guy. But yeah, that upside is too juicy to resist at this point of the draft. I've highlighted Kobe White, just he's in a better situation as well. At 86, do you think that's decent value? I know he's got a little bit of hype in the preseason or in the off-season, but are you comfortable taking him here?
Yeah, look, I think I am.
Because you look at the rankings from last season, absolutely disgusting. 227th and 9 cap, but a lot better in points. He just killed you with field goal percentage.
Yeah, he did. And obviously he is in a much better situation now with no LaMelo Ball. All the kind of the language coming out of Charlotte is that they're very keen on having him as their starting point guard. So it all bodes well for him being a 32, 33 minute a night player. And he is, I mean, his fantasy game is a little bit empty just in terms of what he brings to the table, points, threes, free throw percentage. He's never been a high assist player for a point guard. Maybe he can get up to 5.5, 6 best case. Doesn't get a lot of steals. So just remember if you're drafting him that you're not going to get all of those prototypical point guard numbers. But I think in this range, a player at 86 who could average 20 points a game and 5 assists is probably worth a flyer.
Yep, definitely. I highlighted Miles Turner. We did speak about him, but surely last season was a disaster. But we think of it as at times he was unrosterable. I think people did start to drop towards the end of the season. But 96 and 9 obviously some of his value, a lot of his value is floated by blocks, but he's not that massive blocks guy anymore as well. And that's sort of evident with his points league ranking. But can he turn it around? Slightly different situation. No Giannis there alongside of him. Can he turn things around? Keller Ware, obviously, well, we think presumably would be coming off the bench behind Miles Turner.
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on. Well, I think Turner starts. I think they will continue to roll with him as the starter at least to begin the season. Maybe they change their mind a month in or something like that. But whether he starts ahead of Ware or next to Ware, I think either could be an option. But yeah, I mean, 96, as you said, last season, and that was absolute worst case. I really don't see any way that he could be worse this season. So I think taking him anywhere in the 80s, you almost have to do it because a season prior to that, he was a top 50 player, and
Yep.
no Giannis, new coach, no pressure because
Mm-hmm.
he kind of fell in a hole last season, and I don't think that anyone's expecting the Bucks to make too much noise this season. So to me, Turner is a big bounce back candidate.
Yep, I would agree there. And I've finally highlighted Dylan Harper. I mentioned that there's been a lot of hype. He's presumably also coming off the bench, but can he be a top 100 or even higher coming off the bench as that sixth man?
He's a really hard one to get a read on. Looked phenomenal in the playoffs last season and down the stretch in fantasy seasons. But yeah, the depth is still there in San Antonio. There's still a lot of players to sort of compete with, as well as the addition of Tobias Harris, who obviously doesn't play the same position, but he's a proven guy that will get minutes. So I just don't know on Harper. I would love to have got him outside the top 100, and I do think dynasty-wise, he's kind of elite. Like he's going to be.
He's a top 20
really,
dynasty
really
guy. Yeah, and as soon as if they ever move De'Aaron Fox, I think the runway is clear for him to be a top 20, top 25 type of dynasty prospect. But this season, that contract of Fox's is going to be difficult to move. Yeah, it's a tough one. I've seen quite a lot of analysts really high on him, and I just can't get a read at this point.
Yeah, I am really high on him, but I just worry that taking him anywhere in the 80s is kind of eliminating any chance at value. Obviously, if we come into the season and Fox gets injured and Dylan Harper starts and plays 31 minutes, he busts through this number, but that's requiring a lot of things to go his way. So for me, he's kind of someone I'd love to get in drafts, but I just feel like there's going to be that one person in your league that is happy to reach higher than you are. And so I probably won't land him in too many areas.
A couple of slides earlier, we had Stefan Castle, which for me is far too high in a category. Points league, much more effective. But if it was a category and they were both for some reason available at this point of the draft, are you taking Steph Castle or are you taking Harper here?
Look, it would probably depend a little bit on my build and what categories I need at this point. I think Harper is the better player of the two. If I just had to say who is going to have the better career, it's probably Harper. I'd probably go Castle just in terms of I think his role is safer. I think he will play 30 plus minutes. He will start where Harper could play 30 minutes, but he could also play 24 or 25 minutes off the bench. So there's just a little bit too much uncertainty around Harper at the moment, despite the fact that, like I said, I think he's the better player.
Yep. And I haven't highlighted his name, but a bit of uncertainty, as you mentioned, but another guy, Derek Queen. Will he start? Is he compatible playing alongside of Zion? Because we know that he's got such an intriguing fantasy game. He does a little bit of everything, but 93rd in these current ranks, or the ADP of 95.1, is that too high?
Again, it's a really hard one because the Pelicans, I kind of touched on this earlier. They seem to think that they're a competitive team. They didn't really make any changes during the offseason, so they're coming in with the same lineup as last year. And my concern with Queen is that we kind of saw once DeJounte Murray was back, once Herb Jones was back, and they were relatively healthy, Queen was coming off the bench and playing minutes in the teens. So he had that big run early in the season, but that was kind of out of necessity. So if they are still of the opinion that they're going to win and they're going to compete, I just don't know whether they can play Queen alongside Zion. Neither of them can spread the floor. Then where does Herb Jones fit?
I think on your show, we spoke about Yves Messi as well, and he started ahead of Queen at times at the back end of last season.
He did, and obviously he is a much better rim protector. He doesn't have the upside of Queen. We saw Queen I think he had some triple doubles last year. The assist numbers were really high for
crazy good.
Well, not let alone a rookie, but a rookie forward or point center, whatever we want to call him. So Queen certainly has the upside to be a top 100 player, but there is just so much uncertainty around who starts at center, and his role could be anywhere from 18 minutes a night to 32 minutes a night. So I think he is one of those players that we need to see the preseason before we can actually make a call where we should be drafting him.
I agree. And this is sort of about the range where you start taking some of those flyers, but there's some really good names on this list just after him as well. I won't spend too much longer on this list, but Nick Claxton, nice situation as well. He's no longer at Brooklyn Nets, so it's a pretty safe pick at this point as well. Now, let's just round out the top 100. We spoke about Caleb Wilson. He's the next rookie off of the list. DeBunster is also there. So Caleb Wilson, 97, they're all about 100. The ADP of 100, yep. Caleb Wilson. Miles Bridges, 100.6. AJ DeBunster at 104. And Ayo Dosunmu, who was not a rookie, but showed a lot of promise during the playoffs last season. He's at 104.8 ADP, ranked 100. Anything that stands out for you there, Kingy?
Not really. I mean, 2 rookies, obviously. So this is where people are starting to take some flyers on these lesser proven players. I would go Wilson over DeBansa just personally. I think his situation is a little bit more favorable. Playing in Chicago, he'll probably start. They don't really have anyone that kind of has to have the ball in their hands, whereas Washington, if they have Anthony Davis and Trae Young, obviously they're going to be pretty ball dominant. So, I think Wilson over DeBansa, but in this 100 range is where you start taking your chances. Bridges in Phoenix, to me, this is kind of just safe. There's not a lot of upside. And Dosunmu, I mean, presumably he's going to play a really big role. Whether he starts or comes off the bench, he's going to play 30-plus minutes quite comfortably. They paid him a lot of money, and he was very good. LaMelo coming in, he's kind of where that question mark is raised around where does he start as a small forward alongside Anthony Edwards and LaMelo, or do they bring him off the bench behind those guys? But still going to have I think a fairly good season, and in this range, I think he's fairly safe.
And with potential upside in the fact that LaMelo Ball typically can't stay on the court. Probably proved us wrong last season. But yeah, Ayo Dosunmu, I don't mind him at this point in time as well. All right. That's the 50 to 100 range. Kingy, let us know what you're doing.
Just sort of churning out some shows, recording with Steve St. Pierre tomorrow, actually. So we're going to do a recap of his team from the mock draft. We just wrapped up a Roto mock draft. So Dan Bespris and I will probably do a show next week talking about that. There'll be another mock coming up in the next week or so. Pretty sure Josh Lloyd has signaled that he is ready to go, ready to mock. So we'll have him in the next one.
Quite surprised when he said that in the group chat that he was.
It's a little earlier than he usually does. Yeah. So so we'll get another mock going with him. I'm hoping to do an auction mock at some point in the near future. It's just getting people who have the time to do it. And at this time of year, it's, I guess, other things come before fantasy. So we'll get one of those out at some point. And then the player outlooks that I've been writing, they'll be coming out soonish, I suppose, for RotoWire. I don't know when they come out. And then, some other things in the pipeline. But follow me on Twitter at AdamKing91. Everything will be up there.
Absolute legend, Kingy. Thank you so much. We're only about 70 odd days away from the start of the season. So it's exciting, fast approaching, and a lot of good shows coming our way. And I'm sure that we'll catch up a fair bit between now and then. Thanks, guys. Let us know what you think of the top 50 to 100. A lot of good names, a lot of intrigue, a lot of traps, and a lot of nice value as well. But don't forget to like and subscribe to all things this channel. Find me at NBA Fantasy Bible. But until next time, thanks, guys. Thanks, Kingy. See ya.
Thanks, mate.